Hello, my name is Tola Navarro. I'm a visual artist from Santiago de Chile. I studied architecture, but I have been working as a full visual artist for more than 10 years now. My work primarily is from spray paint and paper. I crumble up the paper or I make origami with them. And then in that state, I painted it and then ironing out the paper. So I transform from 3D objects to 2D paintings. That's how been my primary work. I always loved to paint. Some of my early memories have been from a brown paper craft that we used to paint in kindergarten. After high school, I started painting on the side when I studied architecture here in Santiago. But it was on my 30s when I realized that not only I couldn't live without art, but I could live making out making art. I could live out of it. Question 2. How does this impact and how you see the art world and create art? I see my artwork as an extension of architecture. The way I think about art is trying to find a way to capture light. Mm, I remember a professor that told me that good architects made spaces, but great architects worked with light. So all my career, I have been trying to find ways to capture light and transforming it in a way in a way that it makes sense to be an artwork. Question 3. Did your art upbringing prompt a specific reference in the point of your artwork? Here in Chile, it's very hard to be a full-time artist. So from the beginning, I wanted to make it sustainable. That meant that I had to produce my own art shows, sell my artwork, and make my own promotions. That impacted it put me that made that I had to be a full Instagram artist, so more people would see it. So that transformed the way I saw art, and I saw an art career. I started to be my own boss and work fully as a kind of digital artist, a kind of artist that primarily works showing my artwork on Instagram. That way, more people can see my art, and not only the people in Chile. You can see that on my Instagram page that the amount of work that I do on my reels and promotion. And question 3. Who are your biggest influences? My biggest influences come from the architecture world, like Frank Lloyd Wright. I love the way that he worked with light and spaces in the Falling Water House primarily. He has been an inspiration not only in my aesthetics of my artworks, but also in how I see my life in art. Also, I love ukiyo-e. That's wood printing technique from the 19th century Japan, primarily Hiroshige and Hokusai. They are really an inspiration on how they made art. That it was a very like artwork for the people, a very common art, then how you can make unique artworks, but in a way that you can produce them very cheaply and produce them very like efficiently, not making only one artwork like in a year, but making 10 artworks in a day. That that really inspired my art bringing from art. Question 5. What are you focusing on right now? I have been focusing on growing the idea of light and shadow, creating artworks from origami and stencils. I love using objects for stencils, not only like flat stencils, but nails and things that I find in my workshop. I have been using spray paint on paper, but recently I have tried to work with canvas, trying to make bigger artworks, and it has been a great challenge. Cloth really doesn't behave like paper, so I have to reinvent my whole process. It has been very challenging to work with these materials, but I really love them. Uh, Not only because they produce very unique artworks, but they're very common. There are things that very universal that anyone can see, anyone can use. Question Question 6. What's the biggest challenge of being an artist? My biggest challenge is that you have to be everything all at once. You have to be very different roles to be an artist. And sometimes all the different roles that I have to be doesn't work with each other. For example, I have to be very methodical and very rational about filming my work and working on social media about posting and answering and be very constant. But my artist side doesn't like that. I doesn't like the structure of all, doesn't like the timing needed to be to make a reel, to record me or think about the things that I need to show. So that's has been the most challenging part, to be different roles at the same time, even though the roles don't don't communicate well with each other. I would like to to have one day someone that can help me with everything. But for now, I've been doing everything on my own. So that's the most challenging thing about being an artist. Question 7. What advice would you give to your younger self? I always knew that art wasn't a sprint, but it was more like a marathon. The only thing that you have to do is start running, and you will make a career. I will tell my younger self that just go with it. Don't be afraid. Don't don't be afraid that you may not do it. Just do it and trust yourself. That's how that when I started believing in myself, I started to be a full time artist. But I needed to believe in myself. That's a very 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 different, very difficult point at my life that I had to realize that I had to do art. Mm, Not only because I love to make it, but because I needed to do it. Question 8. Have you tried unconventional mediums or techniques? I think all my artwork career has been working with unconventional techniques. I started bringing up new ways of thinking about art from architecture, ways of thinking about painting and sculpture and things that don't make sense in traditional art, but in architecture are very common. Now, I always try to investigate and test different results. In a way, I always try to find out new phenomena in painting or in paper or whatever it is that I find interesting. I always try to find how light and shadows interact with the common materials. So I always trying to find new ways to capture that light, new ways in which I can produce an artwork that communicates light. Question 9. Do you listen to music or have any type of background noise to your work? Because I'm always trying to record myself working, I can't have any loud music or any loud things. So I'm always using my headphones to listen to podcasts primarily. I love to hear people talking about science or news or anything interesting. I also love audiobooks. I can hear and remember very accurately many things that I hear. So audiobooks has become my main way on consuming books. I have been reading lots of books while I paint. Um, I love science fiction. I like fantasy. And I love like science and news. Question 10, I think. What's the best reaction someone has had to your artwork? I love the reaction of children to my artwork. I can remember when I was a child and my parents gave me a lots of freedom to explore art and explore anything. So I love the way that young people react or interact with art. I have been doing workshops in schools here in Chile, and children always surprise me how they approach to art. Sometimes they are very timid; they don't know how to react with it. But sometimes they are very free and they do anything that they like. It's much more profound in a way that adults do. Adults sometimes have too many filters to understand an art, but children's are are much freer, are much um, much more direct to understand art. They just like it, and you don't have to think too much about it. Question 11. What do you what do you hope people take away from your art? My intention is to make beautiful art. I work with very common items. So I want them to understand that beauty can be from anywhere. You have only to see the thing. It's an act of observation. It's an act of seeing. Beauty is everywhere, but the act of seeing is the difficult part. You have to see and observe and think about what you're seeing, and then you can understand that beauty is everywhere. I want to give thanks to Stan and art by artists. I want to thank you for allowing me to share my experience and my artwork with you. It it's very I'm very grateful that people from all around the world has seen my artwork and has and been inspired by my work and my life. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you again. And you're welcome to follow me on all my socials, and I'm always on it. So if you have any question or any comments, you can comment directly on my work. Thank you, and bye bye.